Hey everybody, my name is Ashish Kanal and you're listening to the Aim High Show, a podcast about overcoming challenges and becoming the best version of yourself. Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of the Aim High Show. My guest today is Blake Ruwali. He's a young entrepreneur who came to US from Nepal in 2016 to pursue his bachelor's degree. He's the founder and CEO of a tech company called Takeo Tech, which currently has offices in US, India, and Nepal. His company has already managed to do business on the upwards of $500,000 in just under 1 year of its formation. Takeo Tech was recently featured on the popular business website MarketWatch for its 0% margin initiative, which is geared towards assisting small and medium-sized businesses that are experiencing difficulties due to COVID-19 pandemic. On top of that, he also runs a popular Facebook group called Nepalese in Technology US, which serves as the forum for Nepalese people in US that are working in the technology field. He's a strong proponent of youth entrepreneurship and is a great example himself. He believes in sustainable growth and purposeful leadership, and he has managed to do all of this at the young age of 24. I'm super excited to have him on the show and learn about his journey so far and where he is headed. So, without further ado, Blake, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Asis. It's great to be here. Um, and thanks for inviting me to the show. Thank you.
Awesome. Yeah, thanks for coming. So, I was doing some research on you and I found your interview with the Rupantaran media. And what intrigued me is that you seem to have this clarity of what you want to do that I've very rarely seen in young people and even in adults, to be honest. For example, you said that you were interested in technology since you were 12, and when you finished your plus two in Nepal, you realized that the standard of technology were not better in Nepal, so you decided to come to US for higher education. And you mentioned that you participated in hackathons and different events while in university. While other kids are graduating uh, college and are worried about finding jobs, you were already thinking of starting a business. I want to ask you whether you have always been a decisive person and had clarity about what you want to do. And I'm also curious about what your upbringing was like. Was it your upbringing that influenced you to be so decisive? Or was it your schooling, or you're just a naturally very decisive person?
Yeah, so when I finished, I actually did my L-levels back in Nepal, right? When I finished that, natural next step was to go to in national university, right? Attend, do something. When I actually came to the United States, my major was actually economics. I wanted to be
Okay.
like economist. I used to idolize Warren Buffett a lot, right? And almost I spent 2 to 3 years, learning about trading, investing, and all back then, right? But I had always wanted to start my own business uh, from back then, and um, only when I attended a few hackathon, it actually sparked my interest, right? I used to do that a lot when I was a kid. My I would say IT thing actually started when I was 12. My dad actually bought me one computer from Qatar, right? He sent that to us. And one of our computer teachers, he used to come to our house. It was one of the, really advanced computer back then, long time
Wow.
ago, right? And he actually configured everything. He used to teach us a lot about that. That's when I started. The first programming language I did was QBasic, right? Back then,
Hmm. Yeah.
doing that. And when I went to A levels to do A levels, right, I did Visual Basic and stuff. For that in college, most of the courses I took was business at first because my major was initially economics, but I did a lot of Java and all, right, Python. I actually in college I had already built a few applications before I graduate. So one of the applications I developed was a health application. Like I developed this application called Plus Health, right? What it
Okay.
did was based on different symptoms that we put in, we actually got results of what this disease is. potential diseases the person has.
Okay.
And I actually demoed it in front of almost like 50 to 100 people in my college. My professors actually told me it would be great business, and had I listened to that, right, it's COVID-19,
Hmm.
right, and a lot of applications like that is actually going up right now. So
Right.
still have done good if I had done pursued that. So, but after that, I graduated, right, and I went and visited many technology companies, right,
Mhm.
and actually saw that what I did back in my college was not different from what these technology companies were doing. The only difference was they were doing this in professional capacity, and they were making money out of it, helping people out of it, changing communities, innovating, right? So I thought, I actually need to do the same, and that's what I did when I graduated.
So, before we talk about Takeo Tech, which I want to go into, I want to I want to ask you about your college experience here. You briefly mentioned, right? Because for students who come from Nepal, international students, it's not an easy route. And for you, you came here in 2016, and you went to Troy University. Is that right? And you completed your degree in 3 years, which usually is a 4-year degree. So right after getting your degree, you were able to start your company. But we keep hearing or international students who, um, especially if you come from Nepal, you don't have that financial leverage that a lot of other students from maybe other developed countries who come to US, right? So a lot of these students, they're working full time and going to college full time, so they can't dedicate the whole full time hours to their studies. And you're worried about the side jobs and what you came here for in the first place, which is to get better education. That's sort of like sidetracked. And I feel like if you are in that loop, then it's very hard to get out of it. So I want to ask you, were you aware of those type of challenges that they exist? And what was your plan or strategy for it? And how are you already thinking one step forward of even starting the company? Can you share like a little bit about the college experience and how uh, you navigated those 3 years?
Yeah, so I can start from back when I started applying, right? That's I think where I should start, especially because a lot of the Nepalese I see nowadays, right? They come to the United States with a lot of tuition to be paid, right? When I applied to Troy University, I actually got a Fulbright scholarship, right? All my
Oh wow.
uh, fees were paid for. And for those of you who are watching this, right, and wanting to come to the United States, I would ask you to take your SATs and then apply and try to come with a really good uh, scholarship. So that's the best advice I would give to those people. But as we know, most of the people that come to the US as a student do not have that kind of scholarship, right? For that, I would recommend that you always set your priorities to studies, right? That's one of the main thing we came for. But at the same time, I know a lot of people are obliged to work to sustain, right? And I would say there is no other way uh, for that particular people's, right? But always you can always allocate enough time for studies and your personal gigs to do that, right? And I actually have one of the great things that I had was I had a family in the United States. Though I came in F1, right? I had a family here in New York City, right? And my fees were paid for, so I actually got a lot of time to think about what I wanted to do, and think about and plan for my business. And that's how I did it. But I know a lot of people do not have that option. So
Did Did your I'm assuming it's a family member who was here in US, right? Did they tell you or guide you, like, look into SATs, or helped you find colleges, or were you just doing it on your own, researching? And what sort of resources are available in Nepal currently that can help students, even if it's like 50%, right, or 25%? That goes a long way. So so you might have to work part-time, and sometimes there are difficult situations. So everyone's situation is different, but having just even 10 to 20% scholarship, that goes a long way.
Yeah, so I actually went to the British College, right? It was A levels program, and naturally in A levels program, it was aimed towards people who wanted to pursue their career or their education outside Nepal, right? And all of these informations were provided to me back in my college, and also my brother was already in the United States back then, and he also guided me there. And we also have I think USEF, right? United States Education Fund or Foundation, right? Who actually guide to people who want to come to United States uh, for further education. So that I think, and every year they, I believe they provide 15 scholarships, um, and then it's all paid for by them, all the application, everything. So I recommend all these people who want to come to the United States to use that mechanism. Although right now, because of COVID-19, I believe the United States consulate is not giving any visa right now.
That's really valuable information, I think, for students who are thinking of applying, not just to US, maybe somewhere else, right? That there
Yeah.
are resources back in Nepal that you can use to leverage, getting scholarships, or just putting yourself in a better position when you're coming to a new place. Um, so I want to move to Take Your Tech now. First of all, can you tell us what Takeo Tech does and what type of company it is? And secondly, can you give us a little background on how you got started, or what sort of inspired you to start the company?
So Takeo is we provide software engineering, data analytics, consulting, cybersecurity, IT services. That's the main services we provide. And I would say when I first started, right, it was a difficult journey for me. Back then, I didn't have anybody to help me, right? I didn't have a particular mentor, right? Like a lot of people who start company, right? But I figured most of the things by myself back then, and also what is I would say funding was one of the main issues, and the whole company I didn't receive any funding from my company, so I actually went about investing what I actually got from my business back to my business. So that's how it started.
You said it was self-funded, and you were sort of on your own, trying to just going by trial and error process. Um, and you did mention earlier that when you were in college, you did do or you did create some applications which your professors said could do well. So was that something that gave you confidence that, okay, maybe I have something here?
Yeah, actually, that helped me a lot, right? Um, that was not the only project I did in school, right? I did a lot of other projects as well, and having that experience of developing something in your own right, that actually is invaluable. And one of the problem that I saw for international people in the US is it's really difficult to get internship, right? The first thing that I did when I started my business was uh, uh, I opened up this position for my in my company for software developer intern, right? Though at that time I didn't have ability to pay my intern, right? I did got a lot of people there. I had like 6 to 12 people back then, and every 3 months I do internship. So back then, for the first session, I had 4 people, and then in the other session, next session, I got around eight people. So these were the people who have been, the foundation of foundation for my business, I would say, when I first started.
Wow. So you hired interns initially. I think that's a really smart way to go, because it's beneficial both ways. Obviously for you when you have less capital upfront, and for interns who are getting real world, hands-on exposure to the technology. Um, was that something, you just being creative, or um, where did the idea come from? You said you didn't had that many mentors. Did you reach out? Do you have like access to like a certain community, or just going back to your alumni at Troy? I'm just curious how, if someone is in the shoes like you were back, when you started last year, right? How can they, go about finding interns, or what's the right way to approach it?
So in terms of internship, right? I would love to share my insight on this because having firsthand, every internship session I applied to almost 600 positions every internship session back when I was in college, and I had tough luck there. I didn't actually secure any position. Uh, I would say after I started my position, right, a lot of people reach out to me for internship, right? And the best way to go about that is um, I would recommend everybody to add as many technical recruiters to their profile in LinkedIn, right?
Mhm.
And then DM every single one of them. I don't leave any one of them, right? Just reach out to every single person, every single technical recruiter, right? And eventually you will find that right person who will offer you an interview. And and if you do 3 to 4 interviews, getting internship is not very difficult.
Also, what I wanted to ask was, initially, for you as an employer, how do you go about getting those interns, or where do you look for it? Is it just in LinkedIn, or because you said like for interns, right? Reach out to recruiters on LinkedIn, and do you look for interns just on LinkedIn? Do you just post on LinkedIn, or social media, and then
Yeah,
you get response?
so I am a huge social media person, right? I have a huge, I would say, a huge group of, huge network of people in LinkedIn. I have huge network of people in Facebook. Um, and but when I started back then, I didn't have that strong of a social media presence, right? Um, uh, Around 2 people of the 4 interns that I had was from the university I graduated from, and the other 2 people was in New York City. Um, it was one of the people, I would say, friend's friend. So that's how I started back then. But even back then, I used to actively post my stuff on UNHN, right? That's a huge group for us Nepalese. Though they have started recently to censor, right? But yeah, back then it was much freer, I would say.
Okay, great, great. So, people, I think they should leverage social media, especially I think LinkedIn is for jobs, right? IT or any career, it's a great tool. Honestly, even in my experience, of my last 2 jobs, it's been through LinkedIn, and it's been the recruiters reaching out to me versus me applying. Um, so,
That's sweet.
it's a very essential tool nowadays, especially for IT. It's a no-brainer. But like if you're in college, or even if you're a employer, use LinkedIn, or any social media. I agree with you on that. So one thing I ask all my guests is about the initial stages of their business venture. I know we've been talking about it, because we all see the end product, and everybody says, "Oh, that guy is genius," or "He's lucky," or he had all the ducks in the row. But there's a lot of creativity and hard work that goes behind the scene. And you said some of the things, right? Like being creative by hiring interns in the beginning, when you have less capital, and reaching out to other people. Can you share some of the early challenges, like the hardship, like at the beginning, before the company got started, and how were you able to overcome them? If you have any, on top of what you already shared.
So first sale is the most difficult to make. One of the first sales I made was actually 3 months after my company was started. Um, and The best advice I can give to anybody who is about to start on their venture, right, is um, actually start by registering the business right now. Like if you want to start a business, don't register it when you actually are ready to start, right? Register it right now. It does not cost you any money. When you don't hire anybody, right? You can get along with your job, but you can still you can start now, right? And build your social media, build your website, everything right now. Start now. Do everything right now. And back then, the what happens is uh, when it comes to selling something, right? Uh, you actually have some prereqs there. So your client, the first thing they are gonna do when you want to sell them something, right, is check your website, check your social media, right, and see the projects that you have delivered in the past, right?
Hmm.
And since your business was just started like uh, 10 15 days ago, that's not going to happen, right? And so for that I recommend starting right now. And when the time is right, you will get that first project, and you can go about that.
Great. That I think that's great advice. So I I'm curious. I'm on the consulting IT company as well, and and consulting companies. The big fours are there, and then there are like other veteran companies like who've been around for like even if they're small, but they know the lay of the land, and they have a lot of resources. They can afford for marketing and then hire resources that charge more money. Were you sort of intimidated in the beginning when you had to go against them, or what was your formula that you were like, what, they might be around for a while, but I can still go ahead and go with my product or my
Okay, so
services?
when I actually first started, right, it was extremely difficult, right? I used to reach out to every single person in my LinkedIn for the services I provide, right? Software engineering, system engineering services, right? But most of this market was already taken by big companies, right? Accenture, TCS, Cognizant, all these big names
Yeah.
already had all the clients in their tab, right? And later on, and even these different clients, right, actually have all other technology firms, like small firms, are helping these clients. And there's like at least I would say 100,000, 200,000 businesses who are trying to get businesses with Accenture and all of those consulting firms, right? um, but at first it was extremely difficult, but uh, it's pretty easy when you sit down and have a look at what your competitors are doing, right? It's quite I'd say uh, it's not quite easy, but eventually you'll figure out what's going on around you, right? And my initial take was find out what my competitors are doing, right? And then try to do the same thing, because I started my business when I had zero experience, right? And obviously I don't have a lot of things to offer uh, to stand out with the crowd, right? But as I progressed on in my business, right, I learned a lot from all of my other competitors, and use what they use, but in slightly different variation, right? And got business with them. And unfortunately, currently we are making progress on getting Accenture, TCS, Cognizant, right? But we are not there yet. But I'll definitely tell you in next 1 or 2 years, we will definitely do business with them.
Great. I think even our when I was with Accenture um, last year, before last summer, I would say we had the prime contract. I was one of the few people from Accenture side, and then we had Subprime, which was another consulting company, um, and they were like another subprime to that subprime. So and I had one of my Ethiopian friends who had his own company, so he was showing around okay, you initially you sort of have to get that first work or first project and then show like you have done something. So that's the hard part. And once you have been doing it, especially for smaller companies, I think we have this like chip on our shoulder that we have to prove something, so we go that extra mile. So I feel like once you get that and you start building your reputation, like down the road, it's definitely much easier than what it is initially.
I would say the path of doing business with all of these prime vendors, implementation partners are it's pretty clear, right? The only thing that's left to do now is to fulfill that prereqs. Now once that is complete, when they look at us, they will see us, we have see that we have fulfilled their project through someone else, right? And then they would want to empanel us then. That's I would say this is one of the game in consulting industry, right? Uh, but currently our strategy has been is been to connect. LinkedIn is our weapon, I would say, right? Connect with all of those directors of these companies, right? And then speak with them on how we can help, right? And because we are not in panel with them, right? Though they will tell us what they need, right? But we have to route all of the things um, they want, right, through another preferred vendor that they have. So that's the current strategy.
I hadn't looked at it that way, even though I was in the middle of it. But now you say it totally makes sense because if you go head to head with these big giants like Accenture, Deloitte, PwC, I mean they pour in like millions to bid on the contract and win it. Why not team up with them? Even like because the contracts like are huge. Like they're like in the hundreds of millions. So if you get a small piece of that pie, you still make a lot of money. So I think like you said, right, building that relationship and just being creative. Like I can see like you are being like it's a sign of a true entrepreneur. You're being creative and seeing like where can you find that door or the side door, if you can't go through the main door, which is great.
Actually, it took a long time for me to realize all this, right? Um, and currently currently I have a lot of people inside my companies who advise me on this, right? But before I had them, right, I had to figure this on my own, right? And for somebody in business, right, uh, they have to have that ability to make a jump, right? And once you are there, uh, the only option you will have is to succeed, right? And in that time definitely people will learn a lot.
You said now there's a team that helps you. Initially, were you just doing it all on your own, or did you had any partners or like
No,
any
no, no.
guide?
Takeo is like uh, I don't have any partner in Takeo, so I run the business. But um, I would say my brother is there. He's actually director of recruitment for our company, right? And I have other. So I have a team back in India, right? I have quite a big team back in India. We have associate directors there, in VP of sales, who take care of sales now. Before that, I used to take care of entire sales. And back in Nepal, we are not just trying to grow here in United States, right? Our main goal, this I'll tell you this, our company has two missions, right? We want to be world's most innovative and client-centric company, first mission. And our second mission is to make Nepal known for technology, right? And even though currently we do not have that ability to spend a lot of money in having different operation back in Nepal, we're still doing that because we want to make that difference in Nepal as well, right? Um, and our managing director back there, his name is Rosal Portal. He's working extremely hard right now, even though there's pandemic, right, to make that vision into reality.
Wow. You mentioned that you have operations team in both India and Nepal. And I heard somewhere in one of your previous interviews that you recently acquired another smaller Nepali company. Um, you know, it seems like you have some connection back in Nepal. Um, or feel free to correct me. I'm just thinking because people know, right? Like we're aware, there are talented resources in India and Nepal, and you can get them for relatively lower rate compared to US. Um, but there's a hesitation that before you make that commitment or before you hire them, there's a big trust issue, right? Because you're working hard here, and winning the contract, and then finally, when it's time to deliver or get the team right, what's your process like? How do you like vet uh, which company is right, or how do you hire the people, and how do you do the vetting of like yeah, this is the right group, I can trust them, we can do work together. Can you explain a little bit about that process of uh, setting up an office in India and Nepal, and also like finding the right partners to work with?
Okay, so let's start with the business process first, right? So the way we do business is we have a team which reaches out to different clients, right? Uh, business development team who reaches out to different people, who fall, qualified people, somebody who can buy our services, right? And after that, once everything is done right, we acquire the project, and now comes time to deliver, right? We have a set deadline that we have to meet, right? And initially, because of pandemic, we did have few issues and few projects that we did. Uh, what happens is, what happened back then was, one of our um, uh, team members that we extremely relied on got COVID back in India. He's safe now, right? Because of that, actually we had to push our project at least 3 weeks beyond our deadline, right? But we did that, and then we did that. So uh, I would suggest, right, for that we have to interview. Uh, One of the problems that I see with different entrepreneurs, right, is they actually uh, fall prey to a lot of people who promise something but can't deliver, right? And everybody in this game, right, in this business entrepreneurship, right, a lot of people fall prey to that. For that, if you want to give out a project to, let's say, one company, you have to see at least 10, and you have to qualify at least 5, and you have to interview each one of them, that, and absolutely make sure that these companies can deliver. But even more than that, that's for outsourcing, right?
Hmm.
But outsourcing is never good for business, I would say. And to tackle that, you need to um, build a good team that you can rely on, right? Initially, it's really difficult to do that, and we also relied on outsourcing at first, right? But eventually, you have to make a good team who can deliver. But sometimes when the project is either too large, right, or the project is either too small, you have to outsource. It's just something you have to do, right? um, for that, that's the only time I would recommend outsourcing, uh, because every time you are uh, outsourcing, right, you are losing an ability for your team to sharpen their skills, and for the team to develop and deliver even bigger projects, better projects the next time.
In terms of talent, right? What have you noticed? People working from India or Nepal compared to here, skills wise, are they, you know, head to head? Like, are they matching the same level of skills that is in US, or they're even more talented, or it doesn't really matter where you are? It's just that technology. If you know it, you know it.
It's not like that. The skill is completely skill set is completely different, right? The developers in US and in Europeans are pretty talented too. Um, I would say they are at least I would say two times better than, if I have to give a number, right? Two times better than the resources back in Nepal. Indian resources are far too talented, right? But that's what we want to do, right? We want to bridge that gap for the talent back in Nepal, to get them into the industry. And the way we are tackling that is, uh, our company, we pay uh, almost 25 to 50% more than what a typical, let's say we want to hire 10 years experienced guy, right, back in Nepal. We pay at least 25 to 50 percent more than a Nepalese company pay. And that's one of the strategies we are using to get that good talent, right? uh, but eventually, even the resources back in Nepal will be really talented, and the whole I would say earning a salary range will even grow up in Nepal as well.
And w- what's the eventual potential you see in Nepal?
Yeah, one thing I like a lot about folks back in Nepal are they're really, really entrepreneurial, right? And every single guy who graduates, they start company back there. So almost like every single one I know, my friends back there have their own company, own business now. And but it comes in a price, right? With starting a business, now they are far away from developing themselves professionally, right? It's a it's a lot different to start a business when you have a lot of experience you could offer through your services than starting out uh, when you have or you do not know a lot, right? And I've been through that, right? But back in Nepal, right? That's one of the biggest challenge, I would say. It's good, and it has its own bad side as well. With that, we see a lot of turnovers. People who we hire back in Nepal, right? They usually do not stick with us for a long time, and this is not one of the first problems I've been facing, right? Because our company usually focuses on giving, good, incentives in terms of remunerations, right? That's how we try to attract and then keep our people. But uh, the turnover is extremely high back in Nepal, and mainly because the salary and whole industry salary range for tech is really low, right? Too low, and people switch job for a few $1,000s, few thousand rupees. So that's the scene back there, right? And coming back to innovations and all, right? I see huge potential for Nepal, right? Uh, a lot of people are going into IT in Nepal, and um, I mean, India used to be almost same as in like Nepal, like 40, 50, 60, 70 years ago, right? Now, India is known for technology, right? Every single companies you go to in the United States, in a whole technology sector is, overwhelmed by, I'd say, Indian crowd, right? And when I see something like that, right, I want something like that for Nepalese as well, right? With tourism being so down currently because of COVID-19, I feel like the only way our company, our country, right, can move forward and be successful from here is to invest in a lot of technologies and really be that tech community that everybody will take services from.
Yeah, I agree with you. One thing, that I'm very inspired and optimistic about is the youth in Nepal, they're so like entrepreneurial mindset. Like here, um, way more than what I've seen here. Because here I feel like there's this set job that you have, right? And if you go to IT, starting salary is like 80K, 90K nowadays, right? If you're in major cities, so you don't think about as a young person, you have 80K, that's like real good money. So you don't have to worry about starting your own thing. Starting is like it's uncertainties, there are risks, so you don't want to do that. But I think in Nepal, the circumstances, like there isn't a set job that you're gonna get, and it's not gonna be anywhere like high paying. So unless you're like super talented, I'm sure there's a market for that now. But I think out of necessity, people are being creative, which is great. People are trying and succeeding in smaller scale. And another thing that I've noticed in Nepal is, like you said, right? If we wanna, if Nepal wants to get better, or like come up, in the next 20, 30, 40 years as one of the developed nation, I think it's gonna have to be through technology. Like follow India's route. I mean, we sometimes we have that, like love hate relationship with India. I don't want to go on that, subject, uh, but we are very similar in nature. Our cultures are similar. We have the same like drive as Indian people, if not more. So why not follow the the footprint that they have taken? And now in nobody thinks low of India. Like now, like people are excited about India. They want to do business. Even American companies, right? They're going to India. They want to do business there. They want to expand their outreach there. So with globalization and internet being so accessible, I think all, and even the COVID example, right? A lot of things are being done remotely, so it's a good. The playing fields are gonna get even down the road. It's already getting even. So if you have the skill, you don't have to be in like U.S., Australia, Europe. Obviously, the salaries might differ, but you can. The standard of living in Nepal is gonna get much higher when you are self-sustainable through the income that you're generating. But slowly, I think technology can take us to the next step in the overall development of the country. So let's transition to some of your other work that you do outside of Takeo Tech. I first came across you through this Facebook group called Nepalese in Technology in US that you manage. For our viewers, can you tell us what this group is about, and what is your purpose behind creating this group?
So the creation of this group was driven by same idea as when I started internship in my company, right? Uh, Nepalese community, it's really difficult for international students and people in technology to get started. That's one of the biggest challenge I see, right? And the idea behind this uh, group is to help these people who want to get started, right? And and at the meantime, uh, create this innovative community where people can share their views and collaborate with other people to achieve more things.
Right. And I can sense that you have the desire to give back to the community. For example, the article that came on Market Watch, right? The 0% margin initiative that you're doing to help the COVID um, businesses impacted by COVID pandemic, and the internship programs, as well as this platform that you have set for the Nepalese community to come together and share the idea, have that discussion. I'm curious, like, well, is this something that you had always had, or is this something like family instilled, or like what's sort of your inspiration behind this? Or you were just like I know this stuff, so I'm gonna just share it with the world.
So the main reason why I started This was um, we had a lot of other groups, right? Yeah, UNHN, but there was not one specifically focused for technology for Nepalese. And I saw that vacuum, and I thought that has to be filled, right? Uh, these people's we I know a lot of people who have been suffering a lot throughout the United States. I personally know them, right? And this is something that will prevent these people from suffering in the future, and the new people who come in. That's why I started, and I would say um, I might have got inspiration from my family, right? Uh, but I would say it was something I saw and I had to act upon, and I did act upon.
Great. I think that's great. The work that you're doing in terms of creating these platforms and avenues. Because I am on the Facebook group, and I see people are asking for suggestions. There was this I think a college student who was asking about "Oh, can someone give me some guidance on computer science major?" And people are looking for jobs or exchanging ideas. So I think what you have started is good, and hopefully I think it's almost gotten 1,000 users now, right?
Yeah, that's incredible. Like I started the group almost like 2 3 months back, right? It's not been a long time, and
Yeah.
we see almost like 1,000 people, right? And my sense was correct in thinking that we lack that, right? And people wanting to join that is what do you say? The lack of that that's been fulfilled, right? And my eventual idea for this particular group is to like non-profit organization who will just help out, right? So that's the eventual idea.
So so you've been a CEO for almost over a year now at Takeo Tech. Um, can you tell us, like, what's the biggest lesson learned from your first year? What were some of the things that you thought were going to be hard, or some of the things that you thought were going to be easy? What surprised you, and what are some of the major lessons so far?
Yeah. So the type of person I am, right? I try to do everything by myself. Even when I started my business, uh, like when I came to the United States. I thought, I could change the world. That's what I thought. And even when I started the business, I thought the same thing. So I've always been passionate about what I did, and always had that, mentality of, I have ability to, achieve what I am set out to achieve. So that's the kind of mentality I had. And having said that, um, I trusted myself, a lot in that aspect, right? And I thought, I could be that one person army to do everything in my business, right? Not just procure projects, but deliver that too. But eventually, as I uh, worked more in my business, right? I realized that um, we need other people who will help out, and experienced people, right? And eventually I started delegating all of my responsibility to other people. And with that, um, the main thing I learned is in a business, when you have people working with you, right, the incentives always have to align with the vision mission of the business. So having said that, that's one of the main thing I think um, the initial focus should be, and one of the things that I lacked at first.
Can you explain a little bit more in terms of you said incentive and vision being aligned? You mean between the owner of the company and the employees, or just having that clarity yourself
For the employees,
for the
that,
employees? Okay.
because um, when you manage a team, right? Especially when you want to the team to be successful team, right? Not just a team. Uh, the mission any company, any business is what drives the company, moves the company forward, right? Uh, Having said that, any business operation that happens in the business, right? Uh, all the members of the business should actually think about that and accept that, right? And when it comes to different forms of, when I say incentives, right? Um, uh, when it comes to management, right? Uh, we see incentives through different. I say remuneration is one form of incentive, right? Other benefits, all of that, right? And there are other incentives like when it comes to projects, the closing projects comes to incentive, right? All of these has to align with where the company is heading. So the operation and the incentive of all the employees, the management, executive has to align with the mission. And another thing here is um, when you are in like managerial executive position, right? The main work uh, let's treat this company as like battleground, right? All the foremen, all the vanguard, I would say, right, are your employees, right? And without them being treated rightly, and then without setting up a right path for them, right? um, Business is bound to failure, I would say. um, and the only way to successfully manage uh, currently my business is pretty small, right? But once we scale, the only way to successfully manage the team would be by um, treating and then helping, partnering with your employees the right way.
So we're almost, into hour and a half into our conversation. So I just have a few more questions, and then we can start wrapping things up. Really quickly. So what's your vision for Takeo for the next 2 to 5 years, or what's you know where do you see yourself in the next 2 to 5 years? If you can just give us a quick, um, summary on like where do you want to see the company, and are there any other markets that you're interested in or trying to explore?
Yeah. So currently, the currently our position in market is, I would say, we are third to the client. Is where the position of where our current position is, right? Our next step would be to partner with all of these big consulting firms. So that's our target right now, right? And currently, we have partnered with the Allison Group, right? It's one of the biggest company we have partnered with currently. But our plan is to partner with Accenture. They work with a lot of good clients, right? With Infosys, with TechWisen. TechWisen has uh, Amazon, right? So all of these big companies, technology consulting firm, we want to align with them and help these consulting firm for the next 2 years, right? And this is on the business as a whole, right? And back in Nepal, we also want to develop it in such a way that we service at least we help out and provide different trainings and different courses for Nepalese people free of charge for at least 1,000 people a year. So that's our aim for next 2 years down the line, right? And for the 5 years, I would say uh, in 5 years, I want to be able to help different clients we have directly. So that's the aim that we have. And when it comes to mission, as I said before, our mission is to be most innovative and the most client-centric company in the world, and also make Nepal known for technology. And I know it's pretty difficult to achieve that in 5 years, right? But we will do everything possible to make that vision come to reality.
Wow. I mean, just hearing that, it definitely inspires me, honestly, and I think a lot of listeners, young people who are listening, will definitely be inspired, and I think you have that, drive to go for it. So, hopefully you're able to achieve all of your goals, because they're all very, they're all great goals, and it's not just, um, um, it's not just helping you, but it's also helping overall, community, and also helping Nepal. So one more thing that I want to ask you is, Again, it's regarding young entrepreneurs, because you have mentioned that you are very um, invested and you have a lot of interest in youth entrepreneurship. I think a lot of young people are interested in starting their own company or get involved in community, like the group that you have started yourself. What, but haven't been there yet, or are struggling to make that first move, to get in the right direction. What advice would you give to them in terms of getting started and pursuing their dreams?
Yeah. So the way entire career path is set up for every single people, right? It's not just technology, right? For entire industry, people usually have a lot of drive when they are young, right? And eventually, people get started with a certain entry level position, right? And then they get another position because of that, right? And it's just climbing that ladder step by step. And by the time you want to reach where you are already old, right? And I feel like there's so much innovations, so much new thing possible when that entrepreneurial drive of the youth gets utilized in their uh, beginning of their career, right? So um, that's what I think people should do. And for Nepalese youth out there, right, who came to US in the F1, right? Um, I know it's extremely difficult, right? I came in the same visa as you guys are, and in fact, I am in the same visa right now as you guys are, right? And I know sponsorship, everything is so important, right? But if you want to walk the same, entrepreneurial path as I have, there's always uh, different ways uh, to actually, pass through that without sponsorship as well. And I would love to share my view about that too.
Any last words before we end the show? Anything that we might not have covered or you'd like to share?
So I think one of the recent article I wrote, right, was about innovation, right? And in that article, I questioned our inability as the citizen of the world to solve COVID-19. And one of the things that I mainly, I would say, point at in the article is our inability to innovate, right? Because of COVID-19, whole innovation industry, technology industry has been stalled, right? And if we had focused more on, being involved in innovating ourselves rather than being a bystander in our society, maybe we could have prevented this, right? And there's no saying there won't be anything like COVID-19 in the future, right? And I would say to all the viewer in this podcast, right, innovation is really important to the world, and just being a bystander is not enough for the world. If you want to help the society, you have to join in this race of being innovative.
I think that's a great message. So I do agree with you. Your first point, which is, you can't just be a bystander, and just waiting for the change. Like there was a quote that you showed. Maybe you can show the sign one more time, which I love. It's one of my favorite quotes. Be the change you want to see in the world, right? So
I love this. Yeah.
you've managed to inspire me just in this conversation. And I think, you being so young, it's not about just the age, right? It's the mindset that you have, which, a lot of people can use. I'm so glad that I, invited you to be on the show. I've learned a lot, and I've just picked up on your mindset, which is like, just keep at it, do things, don't accept status quo. Before we close out, I want to ask you, how can people get in touch with you if anybody wants to connect with you? Are you open to, um, mentoring anyone, or, just talking? If you want to share your contact info, feel free to do that.
So if you want to get in touch with me, you can either connect me and follow me in LinkedIn, right? I have a huge connection, group of connection that you can utilize yourself to make the value out of it, because I made everything public. So you can go and see and every single person, every single connection that I have. And the other way you can connect me is through Facebook. I have a page where if you want to reach me, you can, with one click of a button, you can call me and it comes directly to me. So please do that.
Great. And I will take that from you. I'll add it to the show notes or the description so people can just click on the link and they can find you. Well, Blake, thank you so much for coming on the show today. And
Yeah.
I know you're a busy guy, so I appreciate you taking the time out today. We've just exchanged email briefly, and I wasn't sure like who I was getting. I just had heard about you, and I read the company description and saw your one interview, and I thought it would be interesting. But I'm really glad that we had this conversation, and it's become really a productive one. So
Thank, thank
thanks.
you, right? Thank you so much for having me here, right? Though it's your only second podcast, right? I know there's a lot of different podcasts you will do in the future, right? And please follow him in his podcast and his podcast. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Blake. And good luck to you on all the future endeavors as well.
Good luck to you too.
All right. Take care. Hey guys, before we part ways, I want to thank you for tuning in today. If you found this content useful, please subscribe to this channel. It'll help the channel grow and also help others find the podcast as well. You can also follow the podcast on Instagram at The Aim High Show. It's spelled TheAimHighShow. Feel free to say hello or let me know what you think of the podcast. Once again, thank you for listening. Until next time, take care.